the Jewish woman who deceived the Assyrian king Holofernes, patiently waiting for the right moment and cutting off his head with a sword. Meet Judith, a woman who became known throughout the people of Israel for her bravery and audacity. If you liked it, stay with me because I will tell you this fascinating biblical story that has been recorded and serves as inspiration to this day. But first, let me introduce myself quickly to you. This is our first video on the Ancient Scriptures channel, a channel that will be filled with mysterious biblical stories and apocalyptic predictions. We will narrate biblical events in a way you have never seen here on YouTube, with visual and auditory quality, and in simple and easy language, so that you can understand the content of the sacred biblical scriptures. You will like it. Having said that, let's get to our first story. The story takes place in a time of war and conflict. The people of Israel faced a terrible threat: the Assyrian army led by the dreaded general Holofernes. He was a ruthless man whose cruelty and military conquests were known to everyone of that time. The city of the people of Israel, where the beautiful Judith lived, was under siege by the Assyrians, and its people lived in fear. Judith was a widow. Her husband had been murdered by the Assyrians, and she swore vengeance for his blood. Judith knew that to save her people, she would need to act courageously and astutely. But how could she face a powerful army, being a woman and lacking war skills? It was then that Judith devised a daring plan. Being a beautiful and attractive woman, she went to Holofernes' camp precisely on a night when a feast was taking place and began to dance for the king, who fell under her spell and was fascinated by her beauty. The Israelite people thought that Judith had betrayed her own people and hated her for this action. However, Judith was determined to carry out her plan of revenge and submitted to various situations to execute it. She gained the king's trust, who took her as a concubine, and from then on, she lived inside the Assyrian camp, sleeping in the same room as the king. Holofernes would usually get drunk during the nights of celebration and, when it was over, he would lie with his women in his room and fall into a deep sleep shortly afterward. After a few days, Judith took advantage of one of these drunken nights and hid a sharp sword in the king's room, which she had stolen from the Assyrians. The king returned to his room inebriated. She lay with him, and when he fell into a deep sleep, she took the sword and with a single precise blow, decapitated the enemy general. Immediately afterward, Judith left the Assyrian camp and returned to her city, bringing the general's head as proof of her victory. Upon seeing this heroic act, the people of Israel were inspired to resist and fight against their oppressors. They rose up against the Assyrians and drove them out of their lands. Due to this uprising, the enemies were forced to leave the camp and retreated to Assyria, where they should never have left. And this is how Judith is recorded in Israelite history, and to this day, her heroic act is known because it has been immortalized in the sacred scriptures. But several questions remain. Is anything permissible in war? Do you think her conduct was consistent? Did Judith have help from someone to carry out such a daring plan? I would like to hear your opinion. Write it down here in the comments. One thing we are certain of: this woman was extremely daring and vengeful. Devising a plan like this and subjecting herself to what she did was not an easy task. So that's it, my friends. If you enjoyed this content, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to not miss the next stories. And you can expect that I will be back with many more interesting ones. Thank you very much, and until next time.